Think we're live. Are we live? If you're out there, welcome. We're going to give folks a few minutes to get in the room here or in the video, and I'm just going to make a couple of preparations over here. So I will be right back with music. Thank you guys for being here. I can't wait to share music with you. Computer sound off. By the way, if you're just tuning in, share where you're tuning in from in the comments. We want to see where you're at and where you're tuning in from. All right. I wonder, are we ready to start? Oh, I want to pull this up on my screen. Just a second. That way I get to see who is all in here. Welcome, everyone. I've got my screen pulled up. Maria's in the background. She's going to be sharing some links with you guys as I talk about certain things. So before we get started, I want you to go ahead and make sure you've got your wine, beer, tacos, popcorn, pillows, dogs, anything to make you comfortable. Maria was really set on making sure she had a snack tray. So I can't eat while I play, so you guys make sure you eat plenty of snacks for me. Thank you for inviting me into your home. Under normal circumstances, which I guess right now we're kind of in abnormal circumstances. No one's allowed in our home, so thank you for opening up your home and allowing me into your home virtually. I'm excited to share music with you today. Thank you to all of you who have shared the beforehand promotion of this to get it out there. There was so many posts this morning and yesterday about this concert. Thank you so much. As an independent musician, this means a lot because I can spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to promote this kind of thing. But with you guys jumping on board, you're saving me a lot of money, you're saving me a lot of time, and I appreciate it very, very much. So thank you for sharing this with all of your friends. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jonny Lipford, and I've been playing the Native American style flute for the last 18 years. I started when I was a teenager, and I've been exploring the limits of the flute and pushing the envelope a little bit. I also teach the flute, and I love to inspire others to show them the music that they can create with this instrument. So, like many musicians right now who are facing canceled gigs, I am in that same boat. So that means for me as an independent musician, as a full-time musician, I have a loss of income. So you'll find a link to a tip jar on the same page where you can download my free set list. And Maria's going to work on getting that in the link. It's also the link in the description of this video too, so it'll be located there. Other housekeeping things, by the way, you don't have to tip in order to get the set list. I want to make sure that you get music no matter what you can afford. If you can't, that's okay. I want you to have music leaving here today. So that's my treat, my gift to you as a way of showing thank you for supporting me and being here today. We've been through a lot in the last couple of weeks, and we're being told to stay away from everybody. But I want to focus on music today that brings us a little closer. So I will tell a few stories throughout the concert here about the songs and maybe some travels and things like that. So I'm gonna stop talking because I feel like I'm getting winded. I'm also excited, a little nervous, but mostly excited and grateful. So we're gonna change the mood in the room, and we're gonna start today with a solo flute piece. So with this, maybe for this one, you can hold off on munching on potato chips for a little while and just be in a place of peace. We all need a little bit of peace right now with all the craziness going on. And I know I've got a lot of flute players in the room, so I'll be talking about the flute that I'm playing too. I know people ask me who made the flute and what key is it in. So this is a flute made by Craig Chan. I don't think he makes flutes anymore, but he is in Australia. It's in the key of G sharp. And the name of this song is the title cut from Winds of Change. I don't hear any clapping. No, I'm kidding. It's so strange with the... Maria's over here clapping behind me. Or in front of me, I should say. So strange with doing this kind of platform, but I know you're there. I know you're there. I can see, I've got my computer hooked up over here so I can see a little bit of what's happening. So wow, awesome. Thank you. This next song is a song that I wrote many years ago after having an experience. Those of you that don't know, I grew up in Florida on a farm. My parents, they grow everything. When I was a kid, my dad farmed over 1,000 acres, growing all kinds of things. You know, the growing season as Florida is a lot different than here in Iowa. I've been in Iowa for about 7 years, survived 7 winters, and now a pandemic. Look at this. Sorry, wrong, too soon. So anyway, this particular song was inspired by the land that I grew up on. There was a cornfield in the back 40 on the farm, and I would jog around these trees into the various fields. This path kind of connected them together. And in doing so, it had just rained in Florida. It's already humid, and this became miserable almost to breathe in such a humid climate. And so I was dedicated to my exercise routine, and I would jog into this field, and it was late fall, and the corn was ready to harvest, but it had just rained on it. And what ended up happening was, as soon as you entered into that field, you were hit with this aroma of wet corn, and it was not a very pleasant scent. And so I would hold my breath while jogging, which is not recommended. And so in doing so, I would get through as far as I could, and then would take a big gasp of breath. And I was jogging one day into this entrance of the cornfield, and I heard something through the corn. Something was there. I heard an animal or something. I wasn't sure, and so I'd stop and I'd check it out. I didn't see anything, so I kept going. And then from there, I heard it again. And this happened a couple of times after that. And I remember one time I looked to my left where the corn was, and I just had this vision of a gray horse running through the corn. And while this, in this vision, everything was amplified in slow motion. So I saw like different frames. Imagine like you're watching a movie and they have close-ups of different things. And one of those was the side of the horse, and that ready to harvest, but wet corn leaves rustling against the side of the horse. And then the horse's hoof digging into the wet ground and kicking up wet soil. And I watched it through this frame slowly go through the frame and hit the ground. And when it did, it made the sound of thunder roaring. And just all these different pieces of imagery came together. And as soon as it happened, it was over. And the moment, I'd love to tell you that I went back and I wrote a song immediately about this, and it didn't happen. What did happen was it was a few years later where I had a dream. I had the same dream. And what ended up happening was that's the moment I decided, okay, it's time to take this and run with it and write a song. And so that inspired a whole collection of music. This is the title cut to Rhythm of the Rain Horse, which gets quite a few spins on Pandora. So if you're a Pandora listener or Spotify, you can find a lot of my music there as well. The flute that I'm playing today is made by Brent Haynes of Wood Sounds Flutes. This is in the key of F sharp. So this one is called Rhythm of the Rain Horse. You may have to adjust your volume a little bit. I just want to go ahead and let you know this one does require a backing track, so you might want to lower your volume. We'll work on getting the volume set. We did several tests, but if you feel like one or the other is a little too loud, just let us know and we'll try to adjust that accordingly. This one's called Rhythm of the Rain Horse. How we doing out there? All right. Again, it's odd to look at a phone and not faces in an audience, but I know you're there. Hey, so one thing, if there's a favor that I could ask you, I know many of you have shared a lot of the promotional things about the concert, but if you would just share right now that you're tuning in and share this out to your timeline or even a Facebook group that you belong in. I know several of the Flute groups have already been lit up with this particular live feed, but if you could just share to any of those other groups that you participate in, if you think your friends would enjoy this, invite them in, tag them in it. Let's raise the vibration here and really get some good music into the hearts and the ears of listeners all across the world right now. This next song is called In the Misty Night. This is another one of my Florida songs. So I've started to write some songs about Iowa. I don't know that I have, I might have a couple in here today, but I got a lot of Florida songs because that's where I spent the most of my time in growing up and with the flute especially. So this next song is called In the Misty Night. It was written on Interstate 10 in the Panhandle of Florida. How many of you have been on Interstate 10? And I know that goes from I think Jacksonville all the way to LA, maybe? I think several years ago I wanted to do a tour across I-10, but sometimes it can be a lot just to get through the Panhandle sometimes, through those pine trees. This was written right at just after sunset, where the sun had gone down and the street lamps had come on, and there was this deep mist or fog starting to set between the pine trees on Interstate 10. And those lights that are on the side, especially near the rest areas, had an amber color to them, and it just illuminated this orange mist. And here I was in my car. Mind you, there's not much elevation difference in Florida, but there was enough this night to make a difference where I was driving in my car up into the mist, and then out of the mist, and then into the mist, and out of the mist. So that's where this song got its name. I went home and just started playing around at the piano, which, by the way, the piano is where a lot of my songs originate because a couple of reasons. One is that I can quickly change not only the melody, but the timing and also the chord structure of my song. And that's where I spend time writing music. I'll noodle around with my flute and make melodies too. But the piano is where a lot of my music starts, and then it gets fleshed out into full production. This one started that way as well. This one is called In the Misty Night. Right. I really, really love that song in particular. It's one of my favorites, written in 2009, 2008, but published in 2009. And by the way, In the Misty Night is one of the songs where I've released the backing track and sheet music too, and you can find that on my website. And what I do with the backing tracks is I offer them in 5 keys. So, oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce you to my flute. This is a beautiful flute. It's made from bamboo, but it has a cedar nest and cedar bird and mouthpiece here. This one's made by George Dyson. I think George is tuning in today, and several of you have flutes by George. By George is his company name too. So this one's in the key of D minor, very mellow, beautiful tone to this particular flute. So with the backing tracks, I take them in the original key and I'll shift them to 2 keys below and 2 keys above. So you can find information. Maria's going to drop a link in the chat box there where you can check out some sheet music for original and cover songs, as well as some backing tracks that you can play along to. I love playing with backing tracks. I've witnessed where flute players who are kind of stuck in a box, you turn on a backing track and they just do stuff they never thought they could. It's really, really cool to witness. So if you're playing to backing tracks currently, not right now because you're probably eating potato chips, but if you play to backing tracks, I'd love to hear from you. Just comment in the chat box. I'm going to keep moving here. I've got another solo. This one goes way, way back. This was on my original, actually my debut CD, Transitions. You know, I didn't get a flute up here, I realized, for this particular one, but where am I at? I'm looking over at my flute collection. Those of you that saw the video that I posted just before we went, we kind of did a behind the scenes. My office is a mess right now. It's just so disorganized and everything's everywhere. I tell you what, I'm going to do it in this key. No, I want this one. Okay. So the song is called Could Be. It's a solo flute song, one of my very first solo pieces that I ever wrote. Today I'm going to be playing it on a flute that I got from Tim Gomez. Tim, how you doing, buddy? I think you're tuning in too. It's nice to see you doing some live streams as well as many of my musician friends are right now and are doing. So I encourage you to support them and watch them as well. This is a flute made by Gary Cool, and it's in the key of G. The name of the song is called Could Be. Turn this up just a little. everybody's sitting a little bit more comfortably in their seat. How's the sound out there? Is it coming through okay? Are we having any clicks, distortion, anything like that? Let us know. We'll make some adjustments here. You know, we have the ability to do that. It's always rude when someone like jumps up on the stage during a concert and says, "Hey, will you turn that down?" I know you mean it with love. This next song is a song from my childhood. This is one that, you know, I like to believe that you don't just start to learn something new. It's like innately in you. You just have to turn it on. And for me, that's what it was with playing the flute and also songwriting. Earlier this year, I launched an ebook on songwriting for the Native American flute. I don't think we have it queued up for a link, but we'll be sure to. Many of you have already downloaded it. Those of you that are flute players, if you haven't, we'll follow up with you. But it just shows like the visual representation, how I approach writing a piece of music. And that's really what I did with this next song. It's called Forgiven Memories. And this is a song that I wrote, I like to believe, when I was, you know, about 6 or 7 years old, riding behind the seat of a John Deere tractor. Cab tractor, so it was equipped with air conditioning and radios, or radio, to make farming more comfortable for my parents who worked from sun up to sundown, and also, you know, as a kid, made it more convenient and comfortable. But I got really good at Tetris. I played on my Game Boy, I played Tetris, and if Hot Wheel cars grew on trees, we would have a bumper crop, because I can't tell you how many Hot Wheel cars I pushed out the back window of the tractor. I'm sorry, Mom. There's Hot Wheel car trees everywhere in my childhood. But anyway, this is a song that pulls from kind of that early and mid 1990s country music that was more of a ballad style. Country music is one of those genres of music that is influenced so heavily by other genres of music, and so you can kind of pinpoint the decade of country music. So for me, this goes back to my childhood in the early 90s with more of a ballad style country music. I'm gonna get things geared up here. The name of this song is Forgiven Memories, and it's in the key of A. This is a black walnut flute made by J.P. Gomez of Heart Song Flutes. Has a nice little bear here on top. Sound good? Okay. Here we go. You know, my wife says I'm full of hot air. And it's true. My flutes tend to wet out through a part of a song. Those of you that are flute players, you know what I'm talking about here. Let's see a show of hands. Who who wets out their flute when they play it? Look at that, all that moisture. I know, it's part of playing the flute. You guys are used to it. So I know we promoted this as a totally peaceful concert, not toilet paper. I thought about bringing toilet paper to hand out, but then I'd realize it would just be me and my wife Maria. So here's toilet paper for you if you need some. We'll make it happen. It'll be digital. I have no idea. Anyway, we promoted this as a totally peaceful concert, but you know, I love to write music, share music, and also enjoy music that makes my toe tap, that makes me feel good. And this is one of those songs. This is actually one of the few songs that was written that has a precursor of frustration in it. And I know those of you that are writing your own songs with the flute, you know what I'm talking about with this. When I learned to play the flute, there were two things that frustrated me the most. And this was the question that I had. Where is my vibrato and how do I work it and turn it on and off and manipulate that sound? And how do I write a song and where does it come from? How do I do it? Those were my two biggest hang-ups, and I think that I've overcome those, but there's still times where we work with these things, and just because we learn them doesn't mean we get to check them off and move on. This is a cycle thing. You learn it and then you connect it back, and it's all about connecting those dots. This was a song that gave me some headache, and I was like, how can I, this part, that part, you know, A, B, C, those kinds of things, and I wanted something in the middle that was catchy, and I couldn't figure it out, and finally, I said I need a break from it. I need to just take a break. I need a timeout. I need to do non-musical things to just find inspiration. And so that's exactly what I did. It was hard to take a break from something that I love to do so much, but there are times where it just gets a little chaotic, a little bit too much. We think too much, and that's what I was doing. So I needed to liberate my mind and just go chase something else for a little while. And I did. And what happened was when I came back to music, it was simply there. It was right in front of me the whole time, but it's like, you know, when you're on the phone and you're like, I gotta go, I can't find my phone, or I can't find my car keys, you know, they're in your hand, you know, you get blinded by your own frustration sometimes. So this is one of those feel-good, tap your toes kind of song. The name of the song is called Got No Worry. It's played on an A sharp or B flat flute made from maple by the late Randy Stenzel. He was a flute maker here in Lisbon. We lost Randy a few years ago to lung cancer, but he's right here with us all. This one is called Got No Worry. makes me dance and also run out of breath. I remember doing shows out in Colorado and Utah, and I remember this one time I made a set list for a gig that I was doing out in Utah, and mind you, kind of a flatlander, right? In Florida, I think the highest elevation is somewhere around 130 feet or maybe 170. It's not much at all. And here in Iowa, I have no idea what it is, but it is definitely not that high. And so I made this set list, and it just kind of climaxed, and it just had this one song after another, and it was just fast, and I had to use a lot of breath. And I remember on the fly, I had to be like, guys, I need a timeout. I need to rearrange some of my songs here. And so I had to flip my set list around. But today I have these two songs back to back that are really high energy. This is one of my favorite songs, and honestly is a song that, the one I'm going to play for you next, is one that almost never got published. Hang on a second. So this particular song that I want to share with you, the name of it is called Orange Dragonflies, and I use a high F sharp flute. There's a really tiny flute, and this puts us into pop / techno with the Native American flute. So by that alone, it kind of goes, I don't know if these two things belong together. I wrote this song for my sister just as kind of a personal gift. I never intended to really publish it, but the response that I got just, you know, testing it out and playing it at a couple of shows early on, and even from my sister, she said, you've got to put that on your next CD. And I did, and it's become one of those landmark songs for me. This is the one that people identify me with. Orange Dragonflies is just a fan favorite. It's a favorite of mine. It's really a high vibration song. So we're going to have some fun with this one. This is Orange Dragonflies. All right. Oh, goodness. A lot of fun with that particular song. By the way, I'll remind you again that you can get all of these songs that I played for you for absolutely free. If you haven't done so already, we're going to put a link in the chat box, and it's also in the description of this video, where you can head on over there and sign up to get those. It will come, the set list will come to you in email form. So make sure you're checking your email, your spam, promotions, or junk folders. Sometimes the way these automated things work, that's where they end up. So make sure you do your due diligence. If you have any trouble with that, just reach out to us and we'll do the best that we can to make sure you get those. On there, you'll also find a tip jar. Again, tipping is not required at all, but is greatly, greatly appreciated. I realize that we're already at 2 o'clock, but I have several more songs to go, and as long as you're willing, I'm willing. So the next one that I have here is a little bit more down tempo. This one is called Reaching Out, and that one's going to be on the D flute as well. So here we go. This one is Reaching Out. How you guys doing out there? Are you still tapping your toe, or did you fall asleep? If you're just joining us for some reason, welcome. We've been sharing some music here with Native American flutes. My name is Jonny Lipford, and I'm glad you're here. For those of you that have been hanging out with us, thank you for sticking around. I hope you've been enjoying yourself. And for those of you that are just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see how far and wide the music travels. This next flute is just one of my favorites. This one's made by Brad Young of Four Wind Flutes, and it's called a Mayan harmony drone. Many of you have seen me play this one on YouTube, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to me on YouTube, it's totally free, and I do videos covering flute tips, tutorials, cover songs, original songs, as well as flute reviews. This one's been featured. Many of the flutes that I played for you today have been featured in flute reviews. I have been taking a short hiatus from that, just in light of everything that's happening and just some other projects that have needed my attention. But we will be back on YouTube. I've gotten several emails from folks. Johnny, come back to YouTube. We miss you. I'm still here. We have a lot planned for YouTube. So head on over there maybe after this and make sure you subscribe. This one is unique in that it's two flutes built into the same piece of wood. And at the end here, actually just a couple of songs from this one, I'll be playing a triple flute. So fortunate for me, I put that kind of at the last. I should have done that first. So anyway, this one is an A on the smaller side here. It's to the key of A, and the lower one is in the key of D. It also has thumb holes in the back. I'm going to play this one solo and kind of ad-lib to a song that I recorded on Waves of Serenity called Synergy, and it incorporates this particular flute. So close your eyes if you like, and take in this moment of peace. This is called Synergy. It's a good feeling. So that's called Synergy, and that flute is called a Mayan harmony drone flute. I've got more information about that particular flute on YouTube and a couple of my flute reviews. I get a lot of emails about that particular one, so if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer. We've got a few more songs here, and I'm going to go ahead and start into the next one. This one is called Masked Ibis. This is from a new project of mine that released May of last year, so May 2019. And that particular album took me 2 or 3 years to write. I took my time on it. I wanted it to be very intentional, very specific. And so it just took a little bit longer than my normal productions do. But with this, I wanted to do some more promotion around it and be very specific about the type of music that was on here, because a lot of my music is multi-genre, so you get a mixture of different genres of music, but this one was specifically New Age. And this particular album debuted on the ZMR charts at #1 in May, and it stayed in the top 100 for several months, I think up to 6 months. I'd have to verify that on my, I've got a list over here, but very, very thankful to have such a recognition like that. To have people listen to my music really means the most, and I appreciate you guys for showing up today and tuning in. The name of this next song is Masked Ibis. I'm going to start this on a high D minor flute made by Rick Spitzer of Rain Spirit Flutes. And then after the middle part, I'm going to end the song on a transverse Persian transverse flute. So I'll play this one sideways here. Actually, I need some lip balm. Do you have lip balm? This is a little trick for those of you. Thanks, honey. For those of you that play shakuhachi, rim-blown flutes, anasazi flutes, any of those rim-blown flutes, this stuff, not my finger, but I have lip balm on it. Really helps to create a barrier on your lips so it smooths things out, so you don't get as much turbulence in your air flow when you're playing the flute. So enough nerdy flute talk. The name of the song is called Masked Ibis. doing out there? So glad to see many of you hanging out and enjoying the music, I hope. So I have 2 more songs for you. And again, remember, you can get these songs for free. How many of you have already gone to that page and you've already signed up to get the set list? Actually, I sent out an email before saying it's 2 hours till, and some people already got the set list early. So I try to have everything set up and ready to go. So 2 more songs. This next one I'm really excited about. When I do school programs with little kids and in museums and libraries and things like that with children, I take this flute. I make sure I take this flute, and I take one of the largest flutes in my collection when I can. And I always make sure that they're front and center, because the kids will be sitting, you know, up close, and they'll whisper to their friend and they'll point to this flute. I mean, look at this. It's 3 flutes put into one, and they just absolutely are drawn to this flute. It's in the key of A. So what I have here is I have a single flute in the middle. On my right side, I've got the leather straps off, so I've got 3 holes open, and on the other side here, it's like a flute with no holes. So this has a couple of drone features. The name of this next song that I'd like to share with you is called Emerging Vision. This is from, this song and Masked Ibis are both from Migration, an album that was released last May. So this one is called Emerging Vision. friends. So here we are, the last song for this totally peaceful concert. I really appreciate you being here. This one, this next song is a toe tapper, so I want to leave you feeling more energetic. And I typically close concerts. You know how much I appreciate you for tuning in. So all of you that have helped promote this, that have stuck around with this, I hope you'll share your snacks. I commented on one of the things. It's like, if I have an in-person concert, I want the snack committee to show up like you guys did, because I saw all the snacks that you were bringing to this particular concert. So anyway, this one is called Dancing Stardust. It's from my album Moon Songs. I'm going to stop talking and get to playing, so get ready to tap your toes. This is Dancing Stardust. And there it is, the last song. So again, thank you all so much for showing up, to helping to promote. I need to catch my breath here a second. Helping promote this, sharing it, inviting people to it. I don't know if I'm going to do another one of these, so this one really mattered. Again, I'm going to archive this, so this will be visible on Facebook moving forward, and we'll probably share it a little bit more. So feel free, those of you that that didn't get an opportunity to share it with your friends, after we archive it and it gets re-uploaded, then that'll be a great time to share it. Remember, you can get my entire set list for free and make a donation if you choose. Thank you again. We're going to get off of here. I'm sure there's lots of questions to get to. Again, you can find me on Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, my own website for sheet music backing tracks, also songwriting materials if you play the flute. And there's also some information there if you're looking to expand and grow as a flute player. I know I've got several of you here that play the flute that are in my private Facebook group, so hello to all of you. And special thanks to the JL Tribe. You guys dominated social media in getting this out, so thank you so much for all of that and all of your work. So I'm actually going to go get some snacks now because this has made me kind of hungry. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys. Be safe. Wash your hands. I know everybody's talking about